All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of a new series called the AD2L Deep Dive. In each episode, we'll sit down with a member from our community that you might have already heard of, but maybe you don't know their full story. Tonight, we have a very special guest that you've definitely heard and seen before, and it is my pleasure to welcome the one and only Rhino to the show.
Oh man, it feels great to be here. I just wanna say thank you to you, Licky, honestly, because you're one of the A2L goats. You're humble. You won't say it yourself, but you obviously are an A2L goat. And I think a show like this and a format like this needed to be an A2L seasons ago. So I'm extremely happy, thrilled, you could say, that I'm the first episode for your show.
Yeah,
I'm incredibly thankful.
I randomly thought of this idea. I was like driving home one day and I was thinking because something had happened in AD2L. This season's been wild. There's been so much going on, and I was like, we don't really know like the people behind the screen really, and I wanted to like do a little bit of a deeper dive into some of these people. I have some very exciting, I think, guests lined up afterwards as well, but just like to know more about the people that we interact with often on a daily basis. But yeah, I'm super glad to make this happen, and I was like, I gotta get someone. My first message was like, Rhino, yo,
Oh
are
yeah.
you free? And you were like instantly there, and I was like, this is perfect.
Oh yeah.
Um, but let's, I guess, start with a little bit of history. I think everyone by now has definitely heard of you, but maybe they don't know exactly who you are. So I'm curious, what got you into Dota? Like, how did your journey start with this game?
For sure, yeah. So, I guess when I was like 11 or 10, I played TFT really heavily. And that was like the Minecraft crossover universe as well. And I needed something a little more competitive, a little more like, I don't know, a little more like a competitive scene. I think TFT at the time didn't really have a competitive scene. There was a lot of community servers, and Valve sort of like pulled out of the game. And the next big game that like Valve was marketing on their Steam page was Dota. And I was like, fuck it. I've never played a MOBA in my life. And I just wanted to get into it. So if you watch me play, I'm actually a WASD gamer, and I have been for my whole Dota career. It's probably why I have not passed Ancient at all. But but yeah, I think it just started with TFT, and then I grew some interest into Dota, and have not put the game down since. So I guess that was old client around like 2012, late 2012 was like my first game.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's definitely old school. I think I started around 2015, I think is when I first
Okay.
started playing. Um, did your friends like start playing with you? Because I know you've got like IRL friends that like MD12 Sherry lads
For
that also
sure,
play
yeah,
with
yeah.
you. Did you like start playing with them as well?
Funny thing is, Sherry's actually not my IRL boy. I've met him multiple
Really?
times in person, yeah. But he's one of those friendships that I got close to from Dota. So Echo League Season 1 came out, and I was like, I gotta put together, just a trash stack. So I find some homies that I got in some pubs with. And we actually, our first playoff match was against Elusive, which was Sherry's team. And I remember like we were like 45 minutes late. One of my boys was 45 minutes late to the match, and we were just in each other's discords, just vibing before the match. And ever since then, that's been one of my boys. So that was like 2013 or something like that, or maybe 2014. Someone will have to correct me, or maybe 2015 if you were around with Echo League Season 1. But that's how I met Sherry and Evan and Maddie and Slacker, and shout out those boys. But yeah, they're basically like IRL friendships to me now. Like I know their moms' names and shit like that. It's just super close. It's super cool that Dota had, that I had the chance to meet those guys. Especially in like a toxic phase of my Dota stint. So yeah.
No, yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned Echo League. I was never a part of it, but that's definitely a big throwback to anyone in the early days of amateur leagues. And speaking of amateur leagues, talking about the one that we all are a part of right now, how did you get your start in AD2L? When did you get into our illustrious league here?
For sure. Yeah. So after Echo League died out, there was like a cool, like maybe like I feel like there was like a year of like dad time for like comp leagues, at least for what I felt. Like ATL was going on, but it wasn't as big as it obviously is now. So I created Zoo League while being in A2L. I hopped on like this team called Box of Emotion. And they were looking for an offlaner that was like under cap or whatever at the time. And I joined their stack and I loved A2L. I ended up winning that season. I was like, all right, this is like my league. I love A2L now. Fast forward maybe like 2 seasons, I created Zoo, and Zoo was like an in-house league for all levels. And it was just like a little big thing, and I think I tried to get Seth in it as well, so we could collaborate with A2L. And then ever since then, I've just been a massive part of A2L and love everything they got going on over there. But yeah, it was sort of just I don't really know what brought me to it. I think it was more me looking for like a 5v5 captain's mode sort of setting
Hmm.
that brought me to A2L. But after that, yeah, it just grew and grew and grew and grew from there. And yeah, I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, it's certainly something. Yeah, I mean, you've been around in the Discord for like forever and ever, so um, it's kind of cool getting a better understanding of like where things kind of started.
For
And I
sure.
guess speaking of like the Discord, so now we get into the more like figure out like the Rhino questions. So these questions, just to give again a little bit of context for kind of the idea of what we're going here. They're gonna scale a little bit in terms of, I guess, not really like hardball questions, but they're a little more like deep and might make you think a little more. Also, I kind of, my hope is kind of to be a little introspective with these interviews and
Okay.
see like what are the kind of like positive changes we can come from it, because that's kind of like my goal. I'm like, fingers crossed, maybe something
For
good will
sure.
happen. But
Oh yeah.
but I have one about your. So you used a lot of these like LeBron like gifs and stuff, and reference sports a lot, namely basketball in AD2L and in a lot of the conversations that you have with people. And I'm curious, do you draw any inspiration from any like real life athletes when you think about how you want to play and like present yourself in Dota and in leagues? And is there someone that you would say like you aspire to be for like the Dota sense?
Oh yeah, hell yeah! I mean, it's obviously LeBron. Like I would love to be LeBron. At least that's how like I take Dota. At least A2L, that's serious. Like, there's sort of like a mindset that goes into Dota. I feel like, and I've always wanted my teams to be on that same mindset, like the killer mentality, like the dog mentality. I know, Subbanir and certain characters in the Discord have sort of ruined the phrase dog, but like in my opinion, like a dog's like someone's like gonna go get it. So like I need that on my team, and that's always been my sort of persona, I guess. That go out and get it, and I can be friends with somebody outside of the game, but if you're across from me on, I like to call it the riff or as a joke. uh, you know, it is what it is. It's just like you're an enemy. You gotta get taken down. So I feel like LeBron is always given that sort of aura as well. And being the 5 time, going for a 6 time, I feel like there's not many NBA players I can draw influence from. So I'm looking for yeah.
You're treading new path here. You know, it's new ground. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I just like I look at LeBron and I feel like I used to love that villain mentality too. When LeBron went to Miami and everyone hated him for it because he left Cleveland. I feel like that helped me in that time to be the villain I was in the NHL community. So yeah, I feel like I take a lot from basketball and LeBron and some of these other guys like Kobe, the Mamba mentality as well.
Hmm.
Uh, that would be definitely my mentality when it comes to Dota, as well as like I played basketball, so it's easy for me to understand what those guys are going through and what their mindset is, and then put it onto Dota and try to give it to my teammates.
Yeah. No. The point you make up also about not make up. Sorry, you mentioned about like the fact that NBA players are like enemies on the court, but like all of them are pretty chill with each other. Or at least that was kind of how like things were. Like LeBron and Steph Curry don't like hate each other across the
For
court. Like
sure.
everyone, they
Yeah.
all are friends off the court, but when it's game time, you're doing your best to win. So, and I guess are there any like Dota players that you also take like inspiration from? I mean, the international just finished, so we got to see like the best players out there. Are there any of them that you like look and you're like, I want to be like that guy?
For sure. I'm a big Ace guy. I think
Oh, okay.
Ace was the brood mother guy, the lone druid guy, the sort of like the greedier off lane. Obviously, like Amar as well, like that sort of hybrid off laner where it's sort of like the tank, but you get the rat as well. That's something that I look up to, like just the different picks. As far as mentality wise, I think Collapse has to be that guy for like offlaners now. Like the,
Yeah.
the guy is just a fucking stud. Like there's really nothing else to say.
He's
Like
the
for
goat,
mentality, it's
honestly.
Collapse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just the goat. But a throwback would be KPI. I used to love KPI
Oh,
back
yeah,
in the
yeah.
day.
From newbie,
So
yeah.
yeah, from newbie, yeah, newbie KPI. That was one of my favorite players back in the day. So those would be my three for sure.
Yeah. Wow, that's definitely a throwback. I haven't thought about like old newbie in a hot minute, but
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Um I little question because everyone knows Rhino for the content pieces, right? Anyone who's been awake in the Discord for like the past couple seasons knows about Rhino rants.
for sure.
And I have a question about that because often in the past you've created like pieces that question the status quo, question like admin decisions. You're no stranger to critiquing the league, and Subwoofer himself has said that you've had like a direct influence on bettering the league, right? Not
For
not
sure.
every day
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get praise from him. And I have to ask, like, if you had the ability to change a single thing with AD2L, one thing, a magic wish, whatever you want, what would you choose? And this is obviously to make something better, not to make it
For
worse.
sure. Yeah, yeah. I think I honestly would probably switch up how playoffs are done. I really liked how the team, like, firstly, if you're the first seed, you get to pick your first and second seed gets to pick who they play in the upper brackets. I like that a lot. And then what is it, 5, 6 picks who they play, just to add a different element as well. And I think the first match of lower brackets should be best of ones for sure. I
Oh,
think that
you're a best of one
is
believer? Okay.
I am a best of one believer. Just for lower bracket, I think it also ups the ante for regular season as well. Right? It's like you're not gonna ever be comfy in the lower brackets. You're not ever gonna feel like safe. Um, but that's a good ass question, Licky. That is a good ass question. I think there's a couple other things I was complaining about earlier this season that I've now forgotten. So I may have a different answer to that question before the end of this video for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, no. I mean, if you think of something, of course, let me know again. But it's just like a curious thing because I know you've shared your opinion on the league, and I mean, I can't list any like things that have been changed off the top of my head, but I was surprised when someone was like, "No, Rhino's like actually a positive influence overall in terms of impact on the league," and I can't say that I disagree with that. I think that's correct. And maybe like 4 years ago, people would be like, "Are you crazy? Like, Ryan, this guy, this kid? Like, no, get out of here." But
For
things
sure.
have definitely
I,
changed.
I was shocked to hear it too, a little bit. I was like, wow, yeah, that's a little crazy. But to think back, like in the decisions that were made on teams that I have been on and the rules that have come from them, I mean, I guess some sort of element I've changed some of it, but it definitely wasn't all of me. Like there was other players on my teams that had the same ideas or something like that. Um, and sometimes I feel like I change it in like a negative light as well, like kicking players, the framer rule,
Yeah.
things like that. You know what I mean? So like pushing the rules to the absolute, max. I think that's something that needs to happen, but um, it needs to happen, I guess, slowly and with care and touch. But I will have to shout out the admins on this last situation. I don't think it'll be the last time we hear about it, but the way Sub handled it, and obviously Licky and Dobbs and Gambit I actually forget. I feel like that's sort of the staff. Gambit as well. Yeah, I feel like that they handled that super well. I honestly don't know how I would have handled it. Potentially, upping 10 more or doing something that would not have allowed 10 SIBO to stand in later on. I thought that was going to be the verdict, but obviously I was extremely happy with it. But the overall, that wouldn't have happened 3 to 4 years ago in A2L. As someone, you were there as well when those sort of dark periods where we would there was no, like, I feel like people forget there was no announcements in A2L for a while about admin decisions. It would
Yeah.
happen in a ticket and that was it. Right? They would not give any opinion or any reason. It would just happen in tickets and that was it. So like transparency was a massive thing that I feel like I pushed for more than anything. And like every day I feel like the league gets better with that. So Yeah, shout out to the admins.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of I mean, yeah, if you just look at like the growth of the league in terms of just simply like admin decisions and transparency, I like the fact that you brought that up because that's like I think the key thing that holds the league together. Because even if you like disagree with the decisions that the admins are making, at least it's clear like why they're making it and kind of what the reasonings are. So I'm
Exactly.
glad
Yep.
that we're moving in a positive direction there. Yeah, I you mentioned the kicks, and I'm so glad that you brought it up because I didn't want to have to be the one to broach the subject. But I think everyone's aware that you had some roster changes recently on your team, and I'm not going to go too much into it. I want to take it in a different direction, and because the reasoning that was stated by you and some of the other teammates was the roster changes happened due to team vibes, and
For sure.
I'm curious, what exactly does this mean, and what kind of vibes are you looking for when creating or maintaining a team that you look to take to the top spot?
Sure. I think I'm glad you asked this question as well because I knew you were gonna ask something like it, so I had to prepare some sort of answer. Um, I think ambition and the drive to not be second, not be third, not be fourth. Those are the vibes I'm looking for, right? It's like Balbino and CJJ. Those are great guys, and as I said, I won't say a bad word about them. But like my only thing is like I can't push you more than you want to be pushed, and I feel like we needed them to push, you know what I mean? And sort of in a direction that the team was going, they were sort of going to the other direction. So I just feel like they got comfortable, almost comfortable with us, being a third place or a fourth place team. I've been playing for, 13, 14, 15 seasons. A third and a fourth slot's not really gonna it doesn't really interest me as much as it could interest other players. And at the beginning of an ATL career, I understand like Balbino and CJJ, these guys are either Balbino coming back and CJJ just starting. They're happy to get in playoffs. They're happy with a third and fourth placement. I'm happy with first and pretty sad at second and absolutely finished at third. I feel like and that's sort of the mindset I try to have with everyone. And to speak on this even further, I got messages that night when we kicked Balbino and CJJ, like, you still have this toxic Subaneer guy on your team, blah, blah, blah. And, Subaneer, as much as he, can portray a toxic person in A2L, when you have that guy on your team, he's going to kill for you. He's going to put his, all he has out there for you because he wants to win just as bad, or if not badder than me. You know what I mean? So, that inspires me to want to win and want to grind. And the guy plays 10 games a day. So I love that as well. Um, so yeah, when I say vibe, I was more meaning sort of the drive, sort of that experience it takes to get to the finals. I needed a player that, wanted to get there, wanted the drive and wanted to and had the time, I guess, to get there, with scrims and in practice and such. So yeah, that would be my full answer.
Yeah, so the hunger to win is kind of what you're looking for.
Exactly. Sum it all up. Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, I guess let's look a little more closer, I guess, on this mindset. That focus on being on the top, which some people call it like ring chasing, is a term that's like gone around quite a bit in the Discord. So,
Sure.
like the tactics that you use, like either kicking a player or like leaving a team that you feel that like doesn't really have maybe the legs to make it to playoffs to that top spot. Um, and my question, I guess, is like, is there anything you like wouldn't do to get that like W? Like, where do you draw the line when it comes for like what you'll do to win? And this is like cheating aside, like obviously this isn't a question
Yeah.
about like
Yeah. For
tactics that
sure.
like break competitive integrity. It's more of just like, what do you think is like the limit for what tactics wouldn't you use to like make it to the top, because like this season we had PSGS with like the contracts and stuff like that, like what do
Yeah.
you think is too far for that winning mentality?
I think I would probably say, let me actually think. I would say sandbagging before season. I've never done that and never will. I think that is incredibly cringe. Like, go play ranked as much as you can and win those games. But knowing teams that have passed that to go further, I think the 9-15 rule. If a team shows up at 9-16 and you make them forfeit the game, I've never done that. That's going a little too far to win. Also the reschedule forcing. People have gotten wins off that as well. You know, if a team can't play on Thursday and no one else can play, and you can't reschedule off Thursday, and that main team can't play on Thursday, I just feel like it's so rare. It's so rare. Like, can you really not play on a Friday or a Monday at 9 or a Tuesday at 9? Like, what are you really doing? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think that's probably the farthest I would go to win a series or win a game or win a chip, I guess. As in terms of team wise, I'm not sure, honestly. I think winning, I could be convinced of a lot, to be real.
Just about
Um,
anything? Yeah, okay.
yeah, like a lot. Like I just love winning. So I'm trying to think of something what would be too far. I'm trying to think of like sort of the max. Um, hmm. I don't know, because the max for me would probably be the perm stand-in thing, and I've done that. So I've done that twice. So I, I can't think of another thing that's worse, or that would be like stigmatized as worse. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Um.
Gotcha,
So yeah,
gotcha.
I think that would be it.
All right, yeah. No, yeah, I was curious because I mean, I've seen the whole like winning mentality, like the ring chasing thing, and I was curious, like, what does it take to like break Rhino? Like, where is he? Like, no, this is too much. I'm out of here. Like, this is nonsense. But that's interesting to hear. Um, Dang, yeah. The other question I had, so this one might sting a little. This is a question that's been on my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah,
This is the spicy question that I have for you. So
for sure, for sure.
you've won a bunch in the past. You mentioned the 5 titles going for the sixth, right? I think this is potentially the most that like any single person in the league has so far. I think.
Okay,
I don't know. Someone fact check me on that. Not entirely certain. Um, and you've always like spoken of yourself as being a top player in like whatever division you're in.
for
Um,
sure.
Yet we've really yet to see you step away from like ancient average leagues in AD2L. And I know you've competed in leagues like MD2L and you've pit yourself against these higher MMR players and you've had some solid results. I know the Grin Squad got like second at the
We
MD2L
got second
LAN.
at the land. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what do you think keeps you playing in these leagues at that MMR level instead of taking your skills to maybe more challenging grounds of like champion or even like heroic?
I want to be real. It's just I'm so fucking MMR capped. Like in no way am I scared. Like I think
Hmm.
that MD12 championship meant a lot to me for this argument, right? Like if he's the best MD12 player, why is he always in ancient average divisions? All right, like that's like the main argument against my legacy. So I had to go to MD12 where I'm laning against immortal safe laners to make myself look halfway decent. Um, then I got like, well, it was the Brood patch, right? Like it's the Brood patch. Obviously you're gonna look okay against Immortals. So I have to go back at some point and try to win into well. But I do think before my time's up, like heroics on there. Like I want to win heroic A12. I just think the timing has to be right. And I'm sort of waiting for other players to get that rank and play up, right? It's like if I see certain players playing up and they're like, okay, hold up, like this guy, there's no way this guy should be playing up, right? It's like I'll be like, all right, I can play up. So I think I'm waiting for that curve of people to hit immortals, and I will hopefully reach that peak. But I'm coming for sure. To answer your question, I'm coming. That is something on my list. Heroic and champion. I want to at least win heroic before I'm out. Before I'm done with this game. So yeah, that is on my list. That's on my goals. So for sure, to argue this argument right here, because a lot of people have told me this as well, is why I'm always at these legend ancient leagues. And honestly, it's because my rank is shit, and I need to up my rank, and then I will be up at a heroic and champ, still talking my shit. Hopefully, still trying to be the best. So yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, no. Yeah, because I was like seeing the argument, but it like doesn't exactly hold up. But I was curious, like your own perspective on it, because it is a question where it's like it's one that you have to, I think, look inwards and kind of like answer for yourself and see where your roadmap is. And I'm glad to hear that you are looking for those more challenging grounds of champion and heroic, and maybe those leagues should watch out in a couple of years. You know, Rhino's coming.
I'm coming. Couple seasons. Give me a couple seasons down here. If I don't win this season, I'm not taking a season off though. If I don't win this season, it's gonna hurt me a lot. So yeah. But hopefully I win this season and I go into champ next season. That's my goal.
Oh, the memes are gonna be so good either way. Rhino wins, Rhino loses. It's gonna be top content. I just know it. Oh yeah, and I mean, content. It always kind of like surrounds you. You've always been an iconic figure, I think, in the AD2L community. There's the well-known Rhino rants, hot takes, whole 9 yards. You've said in the past that like certain things you say shouldn't really be taken like super seriously, and that also applies to some of your teammates. You've mentioned that about the late sub in here recently, calm banned from Discord. Rip
RP.
the homie. Would you say that you put on a persona when it comes to AD12? Like, do we see the real, authentic Rhino in the chats, in the rants? Like,
I
is
think
it real?
I think ask me 2-3 years ago, I would say 100%. That was 100% unadulterated Rhino, slash Spencer. That was just me. Now I feel like I can put on a persona. You know what I mean? Like playoff mode Rhino. That's gonna be my persona this season. And it's gonna be a throwback to original Rhino. I feel like I've grown out of that. That sort of like yelling into my shit mic about Dota. I'm sort of a chiller now, I guess, but still have that competitive urge inside me. So I feel like now it's definitely sometimes a persona. If I see me calling Frost dog shit now, that could be a persona. You know what I mean? So it's to keep the laughs up and keep things funny, and probably maybe some slight part of me believes what I'm saying, but it's like I probably wouldn't say that anymore. Given what I know now and maturity levels and such. So I would say now it's probably a persona. But 3 to 4 years ago, that was 100% me.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I guess kind of like a follow up on this because there's maybe a lot more people with potential personas in the Discord these days. I was curious your opinion on how like playing a role or having a persona can either like positively or negatively impact the community. And would you say that like the moments when you're playing a persona or someone else you see is playing a persona, do you think that's like a bad thing, a good thing? It obviously depends on context, but I'm just curious on your
For
thoughts
sure.
on that.
I think it can go both ways, but I think the one thing personas do is they harm accountability. Whatever this person's saying or doing under this quote unquote persona that they can sort of get away with online because they're under a persona, right? They have nothing to lose. So I think if you can be a persona and not, harm other people and make, funny, crafty content that's not, too out there or too edgy, and then that's not harming other people, then that's fine. But I feel like the second you cross the line, that's like cyberbullying or things of that nature. My big thing is like taking it out of the game. Like let's leave this shit in Dota. You know what I mean? Like I'll fry you all day on Dota, but the second we start frying people's looks or physical appearance or things of that nature or their culture, I feel like that shit gets a little edgy, a little cringe. So yeah, I would say that's probably my line for the persona, right? It's like in the Rhino persona, like I'm truly just leaving it all in the Rift. It's all just Dota flame and
The
Dota
rift.
commentary. The Rift, but yeah, I feel like sometimes if we take it out, it can get a little cringe. So I
Yeah.
think it can go both ways.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm glad that. Do you think? I guess if I asked you this question, let's say like 3 years ago, do you think you'd have like a different answer, maybe?
I probably would say I said like I'm 100% for personas. Like if people can't handle it, just hop offline. Hey, three years ago, I definitely would have said like just turn off your computer or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh man, old Rhino. We've come so far. Oh jeez. um. So my final question for you, because this has been awesome. This has gone on longer than I could have ever hoped for, I think, and I've gotten so many answers that I'm so glad to hear, and I think people might be hopefully glad to hear as well. But much like end of cast post game interviews, I always like to end things on a positive note. So my final question to pose for you this is what makes you come back to AD2L? What makes this league special for you? Why AD2L?
I feel like it's a lot of things. It's history, it's community, it's camaraderie, it's the competition, it's the rivalries, it's all of it. Like when you when you can really get into AD2L community, this is for all the people that could be new 2 to 3 seasons in, 4 seasons in. Get yourself in content. Get yourself on new teams. Get yourself in free agents channel. Reach out to the admins. They're probably the most active admins, friendliest admins in any league, right? So reach out to them. Try to get into pubs. These guys play normals. You know what I mean? Like, I don't play normals. That shit is for lames. But they play normals. So they'll play with you. You know what I mean? It's like I would just say it's the friendliness, it's the community, it's the camaraderie, it's the fact that I grew up here, sort of. This is sort of like a playground to me that I can look, a virtual playground that I look back at, sitting here almost like in college now and just looking back at like, holy shit, like I grew up here. I was ninth grade, eighth grade, seventh grade, just in this Discord talking shit. So yeah, I feel like it's just the history and I feel like I owe something to the league almost. So yeah, that's why I come back and you can't get better competition in your bracket in anywhere else than AD2L. So I feel like if you want to go against the best in your division, in your bracket, there's nowhere better to be. So I'm where the best competition is, and I feel like there's nowhere better than AD2L.
Wow. Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, the fact that you've been around so long and still the league is like a place that like matters and one that you come back to, I think means a lot. At the end of the day.
Yeah. And shout out Seth for keeping this shit up, man. Like,
big shout out, yeah.
Crazy, like it's crazy. Seth, Havoc, Captain Canuck, all those boys. Shout out them for keeping it up and dealing with 13-year-old Rhino and 14-year-old. Shit was rough. Couldn't have been me.
The biggest test for any athlete. Oh man, you think Sub is bad? Rhino when he was 13 years old. Oh my god. Man, wow. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. I again, like I was saying, I messaged you and I was like hoping, praying. I was like, man, Rhino's gotta get on this. I really want to have a sit down conversation with him. But I'm so glad you had the time and agreed to do this.
Oh yeah, anytime. And to the next guest, man, let's keep this shit going. Like let's keep this shit going. Everyone's got to say yes to Licky, honestly, because this probably gonna be the best content we'll get. I can't lie. As a content creator myself, I'm sort of jealous I didn't come up with this idea. But I think you have the perfect demeanor to do this show. So yeah, so shout out to you, Licky, as well.
Oh,
I appreciate this.
Thank you. That means a lot. Again, like you said, you've made content for years and years, and I've mostly just focused on like casting, but I'm kind of like dipping my toe into the content pool here and hoping that good things come. I will tell you though, my next guest did say yes. So I'm very excited.
Any leaks?
I don't want to spoil it, but I think it's a perspective that we generally don't get, because I started with you. I was like, you're the guy that like everyone knows is the best way to like break into this, get a little more depth into like who Rhino is, like what he's thinking, all that. You've been around in the league, so like you're someone that is known. You're like this known entity, and I think for my next guest, it's a perspective that you hear a certain version of them. I think maybe potentially a persona, but we'll see depending on how the conversation goes. And then the third one. I haven't asked this person yet, but I'm looking to focus a little more on the casting side of the league there. So might get one of our AD2L elite casters under the microscope a little bit, but we'll see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's all I have in terms of questions. I mean, is there anything I guess you wanna shout out, say to the community? I'll just give you a little bit of the floor here.
I'll say, honestly, this shit's getting better and better. Like, but this season, I challenge the community, man. I want to see everyone drop something in content. Like, just drop something in content. Shit's getting boring as hell. We got this Licky, the Licky series now, which is gonna up it. But we need everyone just drop some ideas in content. You know what I mean? Get playoffs going crazy. And I'll see you guys on the Riff.
Absolutely, yeah. That was Rhino, one of the members, I think, in our AD2L community. I'm so glad to have sat down with him and had this little chat. Hope you all enjoyed. If you've gotten any feedback, let me know either in Discord or I guess the comments of the YouTube video where this will be posted. So either there or wherever you want. If you liked it, let me know. If you got some feedback, criticism, of course, let me know as well. But until next time, hope you all enjoyed and have a great night.